All right, and we are live. Hopefully, I'm not muted. We are back, and this is a when I say late to the party news, we are really, really late to the party on this one. Actually, by an entire year. We're gonna be talking all things Alice in Chains, Jar of Flies tonight, which about a year ago today was the 30th anniversary. No, I'm not, Devon. Get out of here. About a year ago was the 30th anniversary of one of the greatest EPs to grace musical history, the Jar of Flies EP by Alice in Chains. But because I have a really bad habit of letting my channel die for long periods of time, we didn't do this stream last year. So here we are. 31 years later, we're going to talk all about it. We do have Pink Pam 86, who is currently dealing with some of her own technical difficulties. Her microphone sounded like when she was speaking, like it was triggering different instruments and stuff was happening. I don't know. There was a lot going on. We couldn't hear or understand what she was saying, but there was some strange jazz music playing as she was trying to talk. So I think maybe she's doing a reboot. She's going to hopefully join us here in a few moments. But before we get to the chat, who is already giving me a hard time, Devon and Lady Marine, I'm looking at you. We've got my Bizarro dad, heavy emphasis on Bizarro. How are you doing, Roman?
Thank you, son. Good, I'm doing well. Happy to be here. Really excited to talk about this album. They did the reissue last year, and I was able to finally pick it up. You got an original, so you're ahead of me in this department, don't you? Or is that a reissue as well?
Original. It's old, but I don't think it's from '94.
Okay.
But...
So yeah, I picked it up last year on vinyl. I mean, of course, I was there 3,000 years ago when they put out the original recordings. That was back before I was collecting vinyl. That has changed radically in the last couple of years,
and it's still not my fault.
And it's still your fault as Mrs. of the Empire. You know, damn that John and him getting you into this hobby. I hate him. So yeah, what does it say for the year on yours? Does it say the release on, or it might just say the original year, which is what they sometimes do.
I know, just based off of the sticker price of what I paid for this, there's no way it's an original. But when I did find it at a secondhand store, it was still in the shrink wrap. So at least whatever year it came out, it had not been opened yet. So that was a plus.
That's solid. It's a pity we can't actually do track sampling for this.
Yeah. I was thinking about that at work today. Like, it would be really cool if we could actually like play the tracks. And I mean, I'm not monetized, so we could play this stuff, but it gets kind of tricky. Oh wow, this says 2010. So this is nowhere near original. Not even close. Not even close. But thanks for playing. But it is the one where it's Jar of Flies on one side, Sap on the other. So
yes, I don't. Yeah, you got
you get them both.
Yeah, I've just got Jar of Flies. Well, I mean, I've got
most
of the other albums as well, but not Sap. I don't have Sap. But there's only 7 songs on this album, and
that's why it's an EP.
Thanks, retard. Pound for pound.
How dare you talk to your son like that?
You get a lot of bang for your buck off of this, though. There are more good songs on this EP than you get when you have 12 songs, and a full fucking a full record, a regular LP. So. And we'll get into the bits and pieces of this. I thought the process behind this album was fascinating, and the set of circumstances that put it into play. I mean, you take one thing out of the equation here, and you don't have this album.
Right. And yeah, we will get to all of that. And Blair to Blair, good to see you've got your power and your Wi-Fi is back on.
Yes,
that is some good news. So that is that's a normal thing then. Yeah, when it gets too cold, they just shut everything off and like.
Yeah, I mean, it was almost by the time the stream was going to start, and all of a sudden the power went out. It came on, But then the internet was out, and I was like, okay, this is going to go on all night long, so I'm just going to bail.
Right.
And it wasn't bad, but I could have streamed that night.
No, but, for sure. But like, is that something? So I mean, I'm curious. So like, they knock out your power. Like, do you have anything? So like, if it's cold enough where they have to shut your power off, like, do you have anything where it's like, if it gets too cold overnight, you guys be like, oh, like how we can stay warm, or how like?
We have a gas fireplace.
Oh well, that okay.
And we've had to once the last blizzard we had, it was a full-on blizzard. It was really, I mean, it was like a whiteout. The snow was piling up against the air intake, so we couldn't run the furnace. So we just went to bed and had extra covers on. We woke up and the house was in the upper 50s, so we were never entering danger of anything. But we do have a little fireplace. We all could have just slept in the front room by the fireplace if we had to.
Yeah,
like if it got desperate enough. But
right.
But some people don't. And then some people would actually try to use a gas fireplace, like a real one, like in Texas that one year.
Can't do that.
All these people ended up killing themselves because, surprise, it's not a real fireplace,
Oof. Yeah.
Or they would sleep in the car and let it run all night in the garage and wake up dead because...
Wake up dead.
Don't do that either, folks.
Yeah, don't do that. It's not recommended. It's not a good idea. But
cherry red.
It's like I've honestly never heard of the power and stuff getting shut off due to cold. Like out here, we get the thing. It's like if there's high winds, we got the power lines. And
it wasn't because it was cold, just because things stopped working right. And
yeah.
Transformers.
Yeah, here, like they fully shut it off. Like, oh, like sorry, high winds, and I'm in an area where I'm not so much in danger, more kind of up in the mountains. But lo and behold, a couple weeks ago, that happened to Roman, and Roman is not in the mountains. No. I mean, he's close to some hills and some kind of backwoods areas a little bit, but like he's not in danger. And they were like, high winds, shut it off.
There were no winds that day. They were 6 miles an hour. 6.
Oh yeah, man. The air intake. I was going up every 30 minutes trying to clear it. I couldn't keep up with it. It was just the way the wind was blowing. It was piling up there.
And that is again the weather here on
really
to the party news.
Yeah. Well, let's real quick go through the chat before we get in here, and hopefully Pam can join us sooner than later. Seems like she's having some computer issues. We have got Lady Marine in the chat as always. Hello and good to see you. Make sure to downvote and unsubscribe like you do every week. Best song on Jar of Flies. I can't pick just one, but I love Nutshell and No Excuses. For the entire album, it's just awesome and chill. Yes, Nutshell is definitely my favorite from this. Metal Mike Studio, first time seeing you in here. Hello to you. Whale and Wasp. Yes, the instrumental track that sounds like whale sounds coming out of Jerry Cantrell's guitar. Devon stirring the pot as always. I listened to this album today. It was a roller coaster. I liked Rotten Album and Nutshell. He's not stirring the pot yet, but he will.
Give him time.
Starts off with a wall of sound, super groovy, psychedelic, almost goes a little grungy, then ends on Swing on This. It's so just like it's such a roller coaster of music where like we're gonna end with this like 3-4 swing beat, like it's really weird. Like you're listening through it, and it starts very acoustic and very mellow, and then ends with swing, kind of like grunge swing. Like it's wild. It's wild. Unsubbed, yes. Wouldn't expect anything less from you. And we got Max Webster in the chat. Hello to you, sir. Thank you for tuning in. Like I said, hopefully Pam will be able to rejoin us shortly, but we are happy that you guys are all here. Regardless, we're gonna go ahead and I guess we'll just kind of get started, and we'll see what happens. I don't know. So yeah, Jar of Flies. The it basically kind of started with they were coming off of, they did a big world tour in 1993, doing their thing. Then they also went and they did a Lollapalooza tour. And as they were, I think, in the midst of that touring, they fired founding bassist Mike Starr due to drug usage. Kind of ironic at that point. considering the fact that really like all of them were. It was kind of the same thing of like Axl Rose trying to call out Slash for being a junkie. He's like, bro, you were right there tying up next to me. Like,
or they fired.
I'm not advocating for any of that, but I'm just saying, like, it was the era for like you're gonna fire one band member for drugs when like really like y'all were on the tour bus probably doing it together. So they fired bassist Mike Starr mid-tour due to drugs. They hired Mike Inez, who was playing for Ozzy Osbourne's band at the time, and he came in, I think, like mid-tour, and then they came home. So they hired him. Mike Inez helped them finish a tour, but then after they did their world tour, did their Lollapalooza tour, they came home, and through what they call a miscommunication, which, I mean, when you don't pay rent, you usually get evicted from your place of residence. So they came home to an eviction notice. I don't know if they were like all living together, whatever. I don't know.
It's weird. You get that impression, but I find that very hard to believe at this point in their career. Now we're about 4 albums deep at this point, so they're not. No,
this was only together. Facelift and Dirt, and then this. Well, Sap was an EP. That doesn't quite count.
I'm including Sap in that as well, but
they should have been generating some money, though. Especially
they should have been generating some money at this point.
But so they were basically homeless, right? So from there, sorry guys, I gotta.
Did the same thing happen to Nirvana? The day their album their song went number 1, they got evicted.
Oh, possibly. Trying to figure out what the problem is. Sorry, I'm getting messages from Pam here right now.
Oh, Pam.
It's okay. Join in when you can.
This is why it's professional, folks.
Yeah, not anybody can do this job.
So they came home, they were evicted, they were basically homeless, so they just moved into this studio.
And that's good timing, because Cantrell had already booked this so that the studio is going to be available for them.
So they had already booked the studio time at London Bridge Studio in Seattle, and then the band basically they all moved into the studio. And I think they actually lied to the producer and told them like, oh yeah, like we've totally got stuff ready, we're ready to go. And they went in and they're like, we had nothing written. So that makes this EP actually all the more fascinating that I have it here somewhere. I think it's more or less confirmed that from start to finish, for them like going into the studio and writing the songs to like tracking the last, like, okay, we're done tracking, like still they got to do mixing and mastering and whatever, but like writing and recording 7 days. It was written and recorded and in the can in 7 days.
Well, I think a big part of that though, and again, we talk, the elements of this, they come back from the big tour, they don't have anywhere to live, they have the studio booked, so they move in. If you take that out, they're in the studio all the time, because these sessions, if you read up on it a bit, these sessions were working all the time. They were doing like 16, 18-hour days, which is that's a lot. It says here,
it's like album sessions lasted, they're like 14 to 18 hours a day. So like, yes, it was done in a week, but I mean, they barely had time to sleep. Like basically,
they were churning it out.
That's where the drugs came in.
But they were there. They were there. They didn't have anywhere else to go. So that works out, and I think that also fits the tone of the album. I mean, it's a kind of a desperate sound that comes out of this strange mix of harmonies and guitar tones that you wouldn't. I would wager what little is left of my reputation that if they had to go to the studio every day to work on this, it would not have been even remotely the same project. Probably would have taken longer to do, and it wouldn't have been as cool, because they didn't expect to even release this. This just happened.
Yeah, and that's in here too. Devon, no, it's actually something that starts with an H, but you're close. Yeah, there's all sorts of stuff in here, different articles and whatnot I pulled up. But same thing, like they said, the biggest thing was they had recorded a couple songs with the new bassist Mike Inez for some like movie soundtracks, but they hadn't had like the full experience of going in and writing and recording an album. So part of this was, one, they were homeless. Two, they were like, well, we got the studio time. Let's just go in and see what happens. They wanted to kind of feel out, their new band member. But yeah, just like you said, Roman, like they kind of said at one point, they're like, we didn't ever really expect to release this, but like the record label heard it and they're like, you need to put this out. Like,
yep. And it's an analog recording, which is cool. That's what Lane wanted. That he didn't want the digital, the new digital magic of that era. He wanted an analog
What's
recording.
up, Danny? Hello, thank you for stopping by.
Hey, Danny.
Nice to see you.
Hello.
If you need your daily dose of nerd news every morning, she hops on there for a live stream that I'm able to listen to while I'm supposed to be working, and kind of get in the chat every once in a while. It's a good thing I work alone, but yeah, she's got all sorts of cool, interesting stuff to say, all things nerd related every morning, Monday through Friday.
Yeah, she's working.
Favorite fellas.
He is working.
Oh, you're too kind. We're still missing one panel member who's having some technical difficulties, but hopefully she'll join us soon.
Yeah, thanks for hanging out with us, though, folks. Stick around. We're doing our best.
Yeah.
Also, I mean, going back to what we were literally just talking, as far as they're in the studio all this time, but then. They're also not producing multiple takes of this. They got everything done like one or two, and that's usually you try to do that because you don't want to spend the money. But for them, this was a really weird organic process that, like I said, it's such a unique critter because of the way the album ended up being produced and came together, and all the things that have made that happen.
It was definitely one of those lightning in a bottle moments where they booked the studio time. They were literally living in the studio. They had nothing written. They just went in with their acoustic instruments, because there's also said here, I don't want to pull up the Wikipedia article because Wikipedia is not in dark mode, and it just is like, it's a harsh white. So I'm reading off of Wikipedia. I have a couple different articles to read from, but when I have Wikipedia up, I don't like pulling it up because it's like really hard to look at. It's probably reflecting off of my glasses. But they talked about how, like, drummer Sean Kinney said, after playing loud music for a year, so they were on tour for a year, they were doing, Lollapalooza, all this stuff. He's like, we were playing loud music for a year. We'd come home. It's like the last thing we wanted to do was crank up the amps. That stuff was written on buses whenever we had downtime. He said, we did Jar of Flies to see how it was to record with new band member Mike Inez. But we just went into the studio with no songs written. And let's see how Pam sounds. Are we back? And you sound normal.
Yay! Oh my gosh. I'm so sorry. Animal Crossing. Come on.
You start a new gaming channel and all of a sudden your whole setup changes. And
I don't know, but I'm so sorry.
Oh, it's all right. It's okay. We're killing time here.
Yeah, this album sounds like really laid back.
Yeah.
And a lot of those grunge groups, after their first couple, when they came out their second or third one, they kind of calmed down a little bit and they got a little quieter. And, because after like the initial rush of the early 90s, when these guys kind of like stormed the scene, their follow-up albums, were pretty chill.
Yeah. And, I mean, as far as like pretty much from this point on, like they did the Jar of Flies EP. The only other album they did with Lane Staley was the self-titled, what Roman commonly refers to as the three-legged dog, because that's the cover artwork. And they didn't really do anything with Lane beyond that because of his issues that unfortunately got the better of him. So like what you're saying, Blair, like it is kind of unfortunate to see like the what could have been. It's almost kind of like the Kurt Cobain thing with Nirvana. Like towards the end of Kurt's life, which he was still very young when Kurt Cobain left us, that like he was talking about wanting to be like the old guy sitting on his front porch with his acoustic guitar and playing stuff. So it's like it's the like what could have been, what would have been, in the direction that they were going. But some of these very, very talented people, their bad things get the best of them. But yeah, I hear with the quote from the drummer talking about how like they were on tour, everything was just loud and fast, and they came and they just wanted to basically just get the acoustic guitars out and just see like what happens if we just play acoustic, like what's going to come out. So the first session took place September 7th, 1993. Vocalist Lane Staley said that the band just wanted to go into the studio for a few days with our acoustic guitars and see what happened. We never really planned on the music we made at the time to be released, but the record label heard it. They really liked it. For us, it was just the experience of 4 guys getting together in the studio and making some music. So I was actually just talking about this on Wednesday. I don't even remember for the life of me how we got on the topic. Maybe we were talking about 9 Inch Nails, talking about something. The back and forth of modern day recording of, do you put everybody in the room? Do you try to record all together, or do you do the thing where you isolate everything and let everyone go and do their thing one instrument at a time? I have personally experienced both. There are positives and negatives to both. Anytime you move things more digital, it's more convenient, it's more useful, it's more helpful, but there's always a little something that's lost. And Roman, you already kind of hit on this, that this EP was fully recorded analog, which even here in the early 90s was starting to kind of be an archaic thing. Digital recording was becoming a thing. But to still be like, nope, like we're going to put the whole band in the room, we're going to record on tape. Like people were already starting to kind of not do that at the time.
Well, and they used techniques when they recorded this specifically to get the acoustic sound. That's one of the things. They didn't want the electrified acoustic sound. They wanted the acoustic sound. So using brushes, for the drum stuff, and then for the guitar, he did something with like the way that he did pickups to capture the guitar sound.
Was it also cheaper too?
Back then, probably. Now it's more expensive to record on tape because no one does it.
Yeah, no one has it.
And a lot of those bands would really, they'd have money for one to go into the nice digital studios that were coming out, so they had.
And you don't get as many retakes on tape. Digital now, like if you do a bad take, they're like, erase, do it again. Tape, it's like you can overdub on tape, but you only get so many tries before it's like, no, it's trash now. But yeah, so kind of, I mean, not to like totally interrupt the conversation, but now that we can finally hear Pam and she can join in with us, how are you doing on this Monday after all of your technical difficulties? Thank you for joining us, though. Thanks for being here.
I'm doing good. Thank you for inviting me. I'm so sorry about still learning all of this stuff. So I appreciate I appreciate you inviting me on.
Of course. Like I said, I'm glad it's just for once it's not me having the technical difficulties. I mean, last week, I think like midstream, like my camera just decided to disconnect. So my Wi-Fi didn't cut out, but my camera failed me. So I'm like, well, it's finally for once it's not me.
Yeah, but I'm doing good. When John invited me on the show, I told him, like, I don't know much about Alice in Chains. I know a few of their songs and everything, but I'm always up to. So I listened to the whole album and everything. So it was good.
Did you have a track that grabbed you or repulsed you?
From this album, I guess Nutshell was one that kind of I don't know, I thought was different, and it kind of caught my attention. I do know that they're playing by me in May, so they're still out there playing. Yeah, they're playing Rockville, which is a big, huge festival here in Daytona. So they're playing Friday. I was thinking of going Sunday, but maybe I'll try to go the whole weekend. So
I've gotten to see them with the new lineup, and they're still. And now I saw them with their new lineup just after they added. John helped me with the new singer, whose name I never will remember.
Willem. Oh man, hold on, I can find it.
It's there. But he's been with the band for a really long time now.
They've put out more albums with him than with Lane Staley, which is kind of a sad thing to say. But Willem Duvall.
Mm-hmm. Yes, thank you. So I mean, and like I said, I saw them when he had first come on the scene with them, and they were still just, it was an incredible show. They're
I've seen them twice with the new singer. I mean, in a lot of ways, it's obviously very different. I mean, obviously, I don't know what it was like to see them with Lane Staley, but from the videos I've seen, and I mean, they're very, very iconic MTV Unplugged performance from, I think it was 90, 95, 96, somewhere around there. You can tell that Lane Staley was much more of a very shy, more introverted guy. Like he was like wearing sunglasses most of the time. He never really looked up and made eye contact with the audience. But I mean, he was a powerhouse as far as his voice and his talent. But Willem Duvall he's a little more of a front man. He's a little more flashy. He's a little more out there. But holy man, like when they get up there, when they play the old songs, when they're playing, I almost wanted to say Willem Dafoe, but
the big difference. But, big difference.
When they play the classics, when they play Man in the Box, when they play Nutshell, when they play, just like you close your eyes and it's like Lane's there. I mean, the guy nails it. He brings it. So they put on a great show. And that's all we're gonna get now, because unfortunately Lane Staley left us. But well, I'm getting kind of backed up on the chat here though.
That went so much better than I thought you were going to say it, and I didn't know what was going to happen.
I'm trying to keep it together here. It was it's been a rough couple of weeks at work, but it's been a rough Monday. But I'm here. We're doing it. John, you can do a jar fly set with a looper laying down the acoustic track playing. Chill. As a lot of people in the chat and here on the panel have been saying that Nutshell is kind of becoming the quick favorite. Nutshell is one of my absolute top 5 favorite songs in the entire world. But I don't play it at my gigs for a couple of reasons. One, it's a little more of a slower song. It's a little more of a downer. And I've been doing this for a couple of years where I'm like, oh, I want to play songs that I like. But then also you got to give people more upbeat stuff, because you're trying to entertain people. They're trying to have dinner. They're trying to have drinks. Got to entertain. Got to bring it up. Nutshell, as much as I love the song, it's a little bit of a downer, and there's a little bit of language in there that I'm like, this is a family-friendly environment. We're not going to go there. So I do love that song. But the next runner-up is Wish You Were Here by Pink Floyd, which I do play because that one's family-friendly, so I can get away with that one. Your setup looks like you've been streaming professionally for years, Pam. So there you go. You're getting compliments, even if there's some microphone issues. But we all have them. We all have issues. Yeah. It's that everything works until you hit that go live button.
Exactly.
Every time. That's a great setup.
Thank you.
She never said that about me.
Hello, TD. How are you doing, buddy? Gary Nerdrotics 2.0. So Gary's beard is a little bit more fierce than mine. I mean, Blair's got quite the beard there, but I'm not quite at Gary level. I had to trim it up recently. It was getting kind of out of hand. And hello, Pam, Roman, and Blair. Wait, I know that Pam girl from somewhere. Rings. And no, not Willem Dafoe. And who is this here? Bronx. Nope. Willem Dafoe, just as entertaining. I don't know. I mean, as an actor, but different entertainment.
Throw him on stage. Let's see what happens. I'm willing to give it a go.
Yeah. So go ahead, Roman.
Well, John, I'm just saying what we're talking kind of new Alice in Chainsy stuff, but what this album gave us, what this EP gave us, it's not an LP, it's the seven songs. You really got Cantrell showcased with those harmonies.
Yeah,
that's for me, because No Excuses is my favorite song on the album. Just hands down, I love that song. And the harmonies between Cantrell and Staley on that are just amazing and haunting. And it's a beautiful piece of music, which I play really loud. So, I mean, that's another thing that came out of this was the way the vocalizations were done. You knew Alice in Chains had that in them. This was just, it really brought it out more because everything else was in the background.
Right, and that was always the thing. I mean, that was the iconic thing with the Alice in Chains sound was the dissonant harmonies between Jerry Cantrell and Lane Staley. But just like you said, like you hit the nail on the head where it's like you take away, I mean, not completely take away the electric guitars. Obviously there were electric guitars on this EP, but especially on Rotten Apple and Nutshell, like they really stripped everything away to where like those harmonies were a much bigger part of this song.
I love the intro of Rotten Apple. Just coming into the album with that song, it's a perfect way to start it, because it definitely sets the tone for the rest of the album, which gets thrown off wildly at the end by let's see, Swing on This, which is just such a weird track.
We were just talking about that backstage before we started. It's like the progression of the EP is so interesting. It's like Rotten Apple starts so just like bare bones, raw acoustic. Nutshell still kind of in the same vein, and then as it progresses, it gets a little more electric guitars, a little more stuff, and then last song we're gonna throw in this like weird swing beat, and like just we're gonna throw you something out of left field here.
Such an uneven piece of music, because you've got the swing bass, the doom doom doom, but then they go into their weird Alice in Chainsy kind of chorus thing, but then back into the swing beat. It's like it's I don't know. It's weird. It's just it's a weird piece.
It was funny back here, like at the very, very beginning. I don't think they're still in the chat because I haven't said anything else. But one person said their favorite song on here was "Whale and Wasp," which is the instrumental track of just basically Jerry Cantrell doing weird whale sounds with his guitar. And I gotta say, this is gonna be like a weird connection. So bear with me for a minute. But I was like watching a stream recently of somebody talking about the new Wolfman movie, which apparently was awful. And Dreaming Tabitha, if you guys are familiar with her, Dreaming Tabitha, she's an artist, does a lot of like art streams and stuff. She was in the chat and she's like, I'm still waiting to see a whale movie. And so for some reason now, every time I see the word whale, all I can think of is like, what would like a whale be like a whale movie? But it just like, it made me laugh. And now I'm like looking at like Whale and Wasp. I'm like, what would a whale be? Like
Werewolf.
Oh my God.
Like jazzy bass. It throws you a left curve right there at the very end with the jazzy song.
Like how every song starts up with the guitar.
Yeah,
it's kind of jangy, and then it goes on, and that's very Alice in Chains. That each of them had their own separate kind of style and sound, but this is very much them.
Yeah,
I did have a least favorite track though, which it's not bad. Everybody,
I might have to kick you out of the stream.
Don't Follow was for me easily the throwaway track on there, and it's not bad. It's just Rotten Apple, Nutshell, I Stay Away, No Excuses. This is a powerhouse entry, on a 7-track EP, and you've set 4 of your songs are already remarkable. Then you get Whale and Wasp, which is a little bit weird, but I still dug it. Then we went to Don't Follow, which I thought was just kind of by the numbersy. And again, I don't mean it's terrible. I just mean it's, for me, it was the weak track. But then you get to the Swing on This, which is the weirdest track. So solid, weird, and then. But
what's interesting though is according to Wikipedia, No Excuses, I Stay Away, and Don't Follow were all released as singles to promote the EP. And as much as now lots and lots of people, both on the panel and in the chat, keep saying Nutshell kind of stands out. Nutshell was never released as a single, but that's the one that radio stations still play now.
Yeah.
But Roman, you're still wrong about No Excuses. There's no bad track on this EP.
I like No Excuses. That's my favorite track on the EP. Don't Follow is my least favorite track.
Well, you're still wrong on that one because that one's got harmonica, so that one's really cool.
It does have harmonica, which is I think why I hate it and why I hate you.
Do you hate every song that I play with harmonica?
It's like half his stuff, man. Come on.
Next time I'm putting money in the jar, it's going to be no harmonica this set. So
that's fine. Exactly. Adrian tipped me to not play James Taylor again.
I thought he tipped you to play it this time. You didn't play it.
He said James Taylor, but I understood the mission.
So it'd be a couple years before they would do Unplugged then, correct?
Was that?
It was a couple years after this that they did their Unplugged. appearance?
Yeah, that was 96. So this was released it was recorded in 93, released in 94. The Unplugged session was released in 96. But that was a kind of a dead zone. If you watch the Unplugged, which I know I have, they're uneasy going into that. And Lane Staley actually sings the wrong song, and one of them he starts off singing the wrong thing because they haven't gotten together.
Sing the wrong song, but he sings the wrong verse, and they have to start over.
Oh, I thought it was completely different.
You see at one point Jerry Cantrell looks at him and he mouths the words "Are you okay?" Like he could see how messed up Lane is, and it was bad.
It's always sad when it's publicized like that too,
live
on TV, junkie, or.
Well, you did get Three-Legged Dog was the one that came after.
Self-titled.
So that was 95. Whatever. No one cares, John. No one cares. You say Three-Legged Dog, they know exactly what you're talking about.
But that's not the name of the album, Roman.
What is it, John? What's the name of the album? You get your Wikipedia in front of you?
Self-titled. It's Alice in Chains.
Wikipedia. Also, you're listening to Wikipedia too. Wikipedia.
I've got some other articles pulled up here too. It's not my only source.
No, I know. I'm just joking.
Oh man, it's a tough crowd today.
Panel's turned on you.
Yeah. So as long as my camera and my microphone work, we're okay. I need to not touch my desk. My setup is a verifiable house of cards. If I touch anything the wrong way, something disconnects.
Yeah,
don't lift your keyboard. Find spiders.
That spider incident caused a lot of damage.
Not like the time that Roman tried to kill a spider with his beer bottle, and
it didn't go well for me. The spider, my setup, nothing did well that night. But we're back. We're here. We are. We're fine. We survived.
We're good. Oh, good.
So yeah, all these initial grunge bands kind of hit real big.
Mm-hmm.
And then, kind of hit in the mid 90s. And then it was all of a sudden everybody started dying. They broke up. They stopped playing.
The dying thing was a big deal.
Yeah.
Caused some problems.
Yes.
Kind of put the end of it for a lot of them. And then, then of course it started, changing. We started to have that junky, ultra teen kind of music that came out. And it was weird because alternative music was now the popular music. So it's alternative to alternative.
Yeah,
things started getting really weird.
Fun fact: Roman was a founding member of the Bay City Rollers. I don't know what that is, but okay.
It's a band. You're such a child.
Saturday.
He's another one of our friends from the north. Zach's up there in Canada.
Future American.
Future American. 51st.
But okay, so Pam, I know we're kind of dominating the conversation over here a little bit, and you said that you had just kind of more or less listened to this for the first time.
Yes.
Recently. You'd kind of picked out some of your favorite tracks, but just initially, overall listen versus favorite tracks, whatever. What were some of the stuff you got out of giving a listen through on this?
Yeah, so I listened through the entire album all at once.
Yeah.
And I've known I know Alice in Chains, I know they're I guess more mainstream songs and everything, and I know of the band, but it was my first time. I don't know if I've ever heard of any of the songs played on this album.
Oh, wow.
And so it was interesting. I found it interesting that they started off with Rotten Apple, and that's almost a 7-minute song.
Mm-hmm.
So it's interesting to start off an album like that.
Right.
But like Roman says, it's an amazing song. So so I thought that was interesting. I know a lot of bands sometimes get flack for having very long songs. So so that was a cool choice. But I thought overall it was a very interesting. I felt like it flowed really good, all at once, listening to it all together, once through. So I thought it was interesting, and I definitely will be listening to more songs from them, not just their well-known mainstream songs. So it was interesting. Yeah.
Was this their biggest selling album?
So this was quadruple vinyl, which was it's one of their best.
Okay.
Dirt, I'd have to look at Dirt, but I'd say Dirt probably surpassed it as far as sales went, because that was the big album with Rooster and Wood.
That's what I thought.
But this, I mean, but again, 7 songs, man. It's just 7 songs.
And if you look at the output, just barely over 30 minutes long. Yeah.
You know, they recorded it in a week.
Wrote and recorded, because they went in but no songs written.
Yeah. So process wise for quadruple platinum, dude, you got your bang for your buck out of the band on this.
Certified double platinum, 200,000 copies. In the UK, the album was certified silver after 60,000 copies, but I don't know when this was updated, so that could be old.
Let's take a look here. I thought in my, because I read over a bunch of same crap you read over.
But yeah, I think like all that stuff you said, Pam, was like it yeah, just how it has like this flow, and everything kind of goes like from the, you know, starting kind of more acoustic, and then it slowly transitions into like a little more electric, a little more, and then ends with this whole, you know, swing song that we keep making jokes about and stuff. But it was just like it's like a little bit of a wild journey for just being a 30-minute long EP. But I think that because you know, a lot of times like bands they'll write little riffs and ideas and songs throughout the course of a tour. They might go into the studio and, you know, riff stuff out. But the fact that like they all got in the room, and like within a week the thing was written and recorded, so it like had this cohesive nature of, you know, yeah, it just like, it seems like it all fits together because they were all like in the same room and in the same mood and the same mindset. And yeah, it was very, I feel like it was very much like one of those lightning in a bottle moments for sure.
I feel like bands nowadays, it's more just like putting out singles here and there, and there's never any full album anymore. So yeah, it'd be nice to get back.
They're also recording a lot of their own stuff now. You know, that's one of the unfortunate, like, I couldn't tell you almost anything in modern music now, and that's just that happens after a certain age. You just kind of get locked into a decade, and you're never getting out of it. So, but you're right. You don't get albums anymore. Although T Swift puts out stuff, it is what it is. I know she exists, and I know she puts out whole albums because they're in the Target section of the record.
Who are we talking about again? What did you say?
Taylor Swift.
Oh, no,
man. Shit, no, man. I believe you get your ass kicked saying something like that, man.
And I am not about Taylor Swift advocating for Taylor Swift. I am simply saying she puts out albums.
Swifty simp. Swifty simp.
Which I own all of the entire catalog. But I've lost my trail of thought. Damn you!
But here's another one for Roman.
I was there, Gandalf. I was there 3,000 years ago.
Remember my thought now. Pam was talking about the flow of the album, and I think that is true for 6 songs of that album. I think it goes boom, boom, boom. Then you get to Swing on This, and it's just like boom, ba-doom, boom, 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 and you're like, what? Am I listening to the same album?
But it totally works though. It still fits. It's kind of weird and out of place. I don't know. I still feel like it kind of
chorus fits. The bass line is just totally out of line with everything else on the album. That's just my opinion, which means that's almost nothing.
I think their music lends itself to acoustic pretty well too.
Oh yeah,
totally. Just their style. So that's why it really.
I think when you go watch their MTV, when you go watch their MTV Unplugged performance, I mean, even when they're playing songs from their other albums, I mean, they totally lend themselves to acoustic renditions. Like it didn't seem like they had to try very hard. Like when I go watch the Pearl Jam MTV Unplugged, the Roman the Pearl Jam MTV Unplugged performance is kind of hard to watch because they're literally, I mean, they're taking their songs like my brain just totally went blank. What are like their Even Flow, whatever, like all their stuff that's like very like high energy, electric guitars, the whole thing, everything, like but just doing it acoustic, but they didn't like translate it. It was just
like,
we're going to play it as if we're playing it on our electric guitars, and Eddie Vedder's sitting on a stool, but like still trying to have that same level of energy. And I'm like, it's kind of awkward at this point. Like, don't get me wrong. The guy had some, talent. He was a talented guy, strong vocals. Don't really care for their music anymore, but we're not going to get into why, because it's all sorts of other stuff. But their unplugged performance was like almost cringy to watch, because it's like they were just trying to be like, we're going to take everything the way that we normally play it, just play it on acoustic instruments, but with the same level of intensity. And it's like, well, that's not how an unplugged performance works.
Nirvana did it best.
Oh,
in my
that
opinion,
is
without
like
question.
iconic.
But then, but the Alice in Chains and STP also did a really good.
I don't think I've seen that one.
Yep, I saw that one.
You would dig it. Yeah, Pearl Jam. There are two reasons why that was bad. One, Pearl Jam sucks, and two, they didn't understand the assignment.
They didn't understand the mission.
God.
No, the Nirvana one. I think we did a stream on that when it was like the 30th anniversary of the Nirvana one, of just like why the Nirvana one was so special, but also why TV producers are disgusting human beings, and that Kurt Cobain was trying to get clean, and they were like, go score him some stuff so he can do the performance. And we're just like, this is terrible. This is like
they don't care.
No, they just wanted him to do the performance. But that one, talk about another lightning in a bottle moment, the Nirvana MTV Unplugged performance.
So would you say this is the best Alice in Chains album?
I think I actually probably would, because I think their debut Facelift, so like Facelift as their debut album was a terrific album, but then this one, like if I had to pick that, like the most solid front to back, no bad songs, nothing I'm gonna skip. Looking at you, Roman. Nothing that I'm gonna be like, this song isn't that great. Like front to back, like I could listen to the Jarflies EP over and over again and not get tired of any of the songs on it. So yeah,
for me it's Three-Legged Dog, which I'm still going to call it that,
self-titled.
This, Dirt, Facelift, and then we start getting into, there's the Unplugged performance, which I don't have, so I don't get to listen to that all the time. But then we start getting into the newer stuff, which is not, and
I don't count
it's still enjoyable, but it's not the same. It's not the same category that the original lineup was. Still good stuff. They still have Cantrell.
It's good, but it's just like I don't count
the song. What is it? California.
Check my brain.
Check my brain. That
somebody needs to check your brain.
I'm very old. I mean, I'm probably glitching, but that song could easily have fit in old Alice in Chains lineup.
That's fair.
It sounds like it was written for the old band, and
it's probably written by Jerry Cantrell, which helps.
Well, he's singing it he's doing the lead vocal on it as well, which gives you that same vibe. But so anyway, really, like it's the most. Wait a minute. I got a question. It's the most well known. I don't. I would say Dirt is probably your everyman's Alice in Chains.
I would argue Man in the Box is on Facelift. I think that's probably their most well-known song.
Yeah.
Really? I see. For me, like Rooster's
a great song. But if we're talking like most well, okay, so let's turn it over to. So Pam said that she's familiar with her music, doesn't know the extensive catalog, but I'm guessing you're probably familiar with the song "Man in the Box." Like you've heard that, you knew the song, you knew that. Yes. Okay, so yeah,
that's the one main song that stood out. That
I would say that like their bigger like mainstream hits came off of the first album, and Dirt's a great album. Don't get me wrong, I have that one on vinyl too. Rooster's a great song, but
like it's a second-class citizen. I'm offended for the album itself. There are
we're just gonna go ahead and just
there you go.
Unfair.
Pushed it too far, buddy.
Again. I know.
Yeah, I would agree. The first one was probably the most well-known, but I remember when this came out, this got a lot of press. I mean, the critics really loved it.
Check it out. Dirt, though. You got Them Bones, Rain When I Die, Down in a Hole,
He's
Sick
really
Man,
making a case here.
Godsmack, which is why Godsmack got their name.
That was not one of their
Angry
big singles, though.
And Wood. No, I don't care what was a single or not. That's irrelevant. You're mainstream. You're mainstream. What I'm talking about is song for song on the album. Dirt has a buttload of songs. It's a 15-song album, and most of the album they're like, if they weren't radio played, they should have been. This, unlike this EP, which again we talked about it, you've got 7 songs, and the first 4 are just killers. And then you've got a couple more that are good, and then that weird ass one at the end. But yes, I know.
So what most people don't know is that my main goal in doing these live streams is to just I know how to trigger Roman and just get him going on rants. Doesn't take much.
One day it'll happen, folks. Just dead.
He's on a roll, so
let him go.
Oh yeah. But yeah, I think we're kind of talking a little bit about just sort of them, trying to get into the studio, trying to test out kind of their new bandmate. They got a new bass player, and just sort of see what happened. They didn't think they were going to release it. The label wanted to release it. They put it out there, and yeah, I don't know the numbers on all of this. Again, I'm kind of mostly looking at Wikipedia. Other articles don't talk about sales and numbers, but I don't necessarily know if this was like their greatest selling thing, but it is definitely the most unique. I will say that much. Yeah.
Definitely needs to be remembered and celebrated. Now that it's older, it's old enough to start, thinking about Social Security.
It can have its own.
Yeah, and it said here, it's like the album's acoustic guitar sound was particularly focused on. The producer recalled that at some points we overdubbed some acoustics with miking those acoustics. This is another one that like I've been involved in these situations where if you've got an acoustic instrument, usually they have built-in pickups for like, okay, you can plug it in, run that straight back to the board, but like they'll do a combination of plug it in and then maybe even put a couple of microphones in front of it and kind of try to figure out the best mix or best
because it is a very different sound, and that coming
on the room, it depends on
that
the
chord
engineer
inside the guitar is different than the outflow from where it's supposed to be coming from.
But then when they were recording live off the floor, they'd use whatever pickups Jerry Cantrell had in his guitars at the time, trying to keep that sound as close to acoustic sounding as possible so that it sounded like it was an acoustic guitar instead of an electrified acoustic guitar. This is where it kind of loses me a little bit, though. Cantrell played using Ovation guitars. If you're not aware, Ovation is a brand that's known for maybe the top of the guitar is actually made out of wood, but the back is this weird, like rounded plastic.
Oh yeah, right. Yeah, I forgot.
Like
about
they're
that.
like most of the guitars made out of plastic. I'm like, why would you use that? What like? Oh, that part makes me angry a little bit. That reflect on the recording's acoustic climate, drummer Sean Kenny sometimes used brushes to obtain a softer feel. Certain microphones were used for overhead registration, more techno stuff that like even I don't fully understand what they're saying. Cantrell performed lead vocals on the track Don't Follow, Roman's favorite. And Wright described Cantrell as an awesome singer and stressed that you couldn't have done all those harmonies without him. Sessions concluded September 14th. Hey, Adams Land. I might be wrong in assuming this, but I feel like you're in a very strange time zone where you might be up very late watching us. But thank you for tuning in. Good to see you. Remember songs from Dirt playing, but not as many songs off of Jar of Flies. Roman, there. Got someone in my corner. Probably because that's about
you can't trust her.
There was more press to it geared towards the grungy kids.
It's a great album.
Yes, Ovation guitars rounded backs were unique. Unique, yes, but they were made out of plastic. And as someone who I've both worked for a guitar manufacturer and a banjo manufacturer, I'm just like, why would you make a guitar mostly out of plastic? I don't understand
That's
that.
weird. Are they still using those things, dude? I remember them back in the day.
I don't even know if they still exist.
You read that again. I haven't thought about that thing in a minute.
You were one of the grungy kids. All right, okay, I believe you. Not arguing. We're not here to argue.
Fun fact.
Oh, fun facts with Roman.
No, we are here to argue. That's why I'm here.
Got another vote for Nutshell.
Great song. Not my favorite song in the album, but it's a great song. But
you know what? You just no.
Nope. Again with that? Thanks, buddy.
Max is saying Ovation was bought out by Fender. So maybe that's why
so maybe Fender started making them better. I'm a Martin player, so yeah. I worked for Taylor. We're not going to talk about that. I play Martin now, so there's that.
I got a Fender.
Roman, you had a hot take?
Wait, what? When?
I don't know. You were about to say something.
No, I have a Fender. My bass is a Fender.
No, before that.
I don't know.
You lost it.
Could have been anything, honestly.
Nutshell or something.
No, it's gone. Whatever that thought was, it left and it's never coming back.
Born the same year as Blair and has been your life, then you would understand. Okay.
I'm not sure where that's going. It's like a haiku.
Chet is not the best for sometimes for putting out a thought.
And Taylor are the best. Well, you're half right. I'll go with the Martin on that one, Max.
Taylor makes a fine guitar. You're just biased because you were their monkey.
Because I worked there. Yeah, unfortunately. So let's see, what else have we got here? Yeah, I think another one of the things with this was like after the success of Facelift and Dirt, with this being the new release with their new bass player Mike Inez, I think people were automatically afraid that like this is going to be like their new sound, almost kind of like it's kind of like when Pantera ended. Which album was it? Was it the Pantera album? I think Vulgar Display of Power, where they ended it with the cover of Planet Caravan, the Black Sabbath cover, but it was acoustic. And people were like, oh no, like Pantera's going soft. And they're just like, it's one song. It's a cover from Black Sabbath. Everybody calm down.
Remember, fans are dumb.
Yeah, well, this is before the internet.
What are they doing?
Yeah. And
people get freaked out over a lot of insignificant.
Well, I mean, okay, like maybe it wasn't totally before the internet, but it was before anything like resembling what we have now.
Yeah.
So yeah, I remember that it was like Pantera did that. They did the Black Sabbath cover and it was acoustic and it was the last song on the album. We were like, oh my God, Pantera's going soft. And then Alice in Chains put this EP out because they had a new band member. They got a new bass player. They put this out and everyone's just like, oh no, Alice in Chains is going soft. They're like, no, dude, like we were on tour for like 2 years straight. Like our eardrums were bleeding. We wanted to go into a studio with acoustic guitars and just be like, let's see what happens. Like
that's a long time. That's a long time for that audio abuse.
And I mean, that's basically what bands even still do today, because especially in the world of streaming, and I've talked about this at length quite a bit, that in the world of streaming now, like I honestly don't know how bands make music anymore, but it's like they pretty much have to just tour nonstop. Mm-hmm. And even then there's like 100 different people that like have their hands in the money pot of like the venue and the promoters and the managers and the crew and everyone gets a cut. So it's like, how do you even make money anymore? Like I pulled up an article recently. I think one of my midweek streams about Avenged Sevenfold talking about that, where they're like, dynamic pricing, and the bands try to blame it on Ticketmaster, but it's like you allow it to happen. Like,
there's a 360 contracts now where it used to be you had a record contract. The record company had the record, but when you went on the road, that was your money. Now the contracts are they have everything. They get your touring, they get your merch, so they get even more of your slice.
Yeah, like maybe like 10, 15 years ago, I would hear from bands that they made mostly all their money off of touring. So, but that was before YouTube kind of became super popular and everybody can just go on there and listen to music there. So, yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
It's and now they have this thing like the dynamic pricing of, oh, well, band goes on tour. People go on and they buy up all the concert tickets, and then a ticket that might have initially only been like $60, $70, maybe $80, now suddenly the scalper is selling it for $2,000. The band looks at it and goes, oh, well, if people are willing to pay scalpers $2,000, why don't we just pay that? So Ticketmaster has initiated this thing called dynamic pricing that allows the band to jack their prices up to $2,000. And I don't want to say I have mixed feelings on it. I think it's wrong no matter what, but it's like, I understand the aspect of, if people are willing to pay that price, shouldn't the band and the crew and the people initially doing the show get the money? Yes, those people should get paid first rather than the scalper who sits there on their computer and buys up all the tickets as soon as they go on sale. But the point is, Ticketmaster probably has the power to stop this, but they won't, because they probably get a kickback every time the ticket gets resold. Like, there's no reason why they can't be like, oh, if you can't make the show, whatever, it's like you can list it, but like you can't relist it for more than face value. Seems like a simple solution, right? Like, why can't you be like, oh no, like you can't list a $60 ticket for $2,000? So Ticketmaster's got to be getting some kind of kickback on this. And Bruce Springsteen is one that has supported this, and he's all like, oh, middle America, blue collar working man stuff. It's like, yeah, you're going to charge people $2,000 for your concert and your music still sucks anyways. But yeah, I remember seeing like Avenged Sevenfold has spoken out about this. Other people have spoken out where they're just like, oh, everyone wants to hide behind the like, oh, Ticketmaster does it. We had no idea. And he's like, no, like they're allowing it. They know what's happening. And yes, like the venue takes a cut of your merch sales. That sucks. That should probably stop. But that's how are you going to stop
normal,
that?
That you got to have a place to play. You know, it's just kind of.
Well, the thing is too, it's like they say that Ticketmaster and Live Nation have basically created a monopoly, and Live Nation owns most of the big venues, most of the big arenas, most of the big stadiums. Like you go and all their signage, all their layouts, all the everything are very similar. It's like going to a Starbucks where they all look a little bit different, but you're in a Starbucks. Like you go to a Live Nation venue and you're like, I know I'm in a Live Nation venue. So they own the venue, so they monopolize the ticket sales, and
they don't make money on the music anymore. They make money on corporate sponsorships.
Yeah.
Starbucks is going to promote the show, so they're gonna have a bunch of crappy Starbucks stuff. They get money from Starbucks.
Yeah.
Or whoever is, Yeah, it sucks.
It's a pity. We're never gonna get a great like period show like the music of the grunge era, because they're all dead. The only ones you have left are Pearl Jam, and I've voiced my opinion on that. And while Alice in Chains is still playing, and Pam, you should go see them because I think you'll enjoy the show. It's not.
They put on a good show. They're fun.
It's not the Alice in Chains. It's not the Alice in Chains of yesterday. Although they have put out. I'm looking at. I've forgotten. I mean, they put out 1, 2, 3, 4 album. No, 3, 4. 2.
Roman can count.
3 albums with the new the William Duvall. They're good albums.
Willem Dafoe.
Again, it's not the same, but it's not Willem Dafoe. Big difference. But you don't have STP. They've tried resurrecting them, and it never works out well. Nirvana. I mean, Nirvana will. You're never going to put that together, obviously, for so many reasons. But
I'm actually. I know we all have. Well, I know Roman for sure has feelings about Dave Grohl, but I am grateful that they've never tried to bring back Nirvana. That was one that's just like.
Yeah. Without
unfortunately, that one died with Kurt, and just leave it be. And they've never tried to bring it back. And it's like just leave it alone.
He did his own thing, and it's great for him. So
yeah. Yeah, and they're talking about other bands that like STP. Like, okay, at one point they had Chester Bennington come in, and I watched some live videos of Chester Bennington trying to be Scott Weiland, and he did a good job, but I felt like he was trying a little too hard to like be Scott Weiland. Like he like dressed the same way, he like did the same moves, and he's an incredibly talented vocalist.
That album clearly had songs that were written for Weiland on it, because you hear there's a distinct change up when you move into the songs where Chester starts sounding like Chester and not trying to sound like Weiland.
But he at least was someone. He at least was someone that I recognize as he was an incredible talent who, again, also left us too soon. But and I'll not going to get.
The Rolling Stones are still out there churning out tours.
I'm going to talk about this on Wednesday on my solo stream. But if you're not aware, Linkin Park released an all a cappella version of their newest album with new singer Emily Armstrong. So they cut out all the instruments and just have the isolated vocals of Emily Armstrong and Mike Shinoda. And I tried listening to it. I tried listening to it at work today. I got through like 1.5 songs, and I'm just like, ooh, this is awful. Like there's still all the studio magic. There's still all the auto tune. There's still all the everything. They just cut out all the guitars and drums and everything. So you're just listening. It's like sitting in the recording studio when you're trying to figure out, like, is that a good take? Are we going to redo it? Is that what? Just the isolated vocals. And I'm like, no one is going to sit and just like jam out to this. Like, no one is going to put this on and be like, oh, I want to listen to the new Linkin Park album with no instruments and just isolated vocals. It's like, no, they are. I'm already going off on a tangent.
Finally, my dream has come true.
I'm going to talk about it on Wednesday. But it's just like, why would you even put this out into the world? But yeah, I'm going down a rabbit hole. I'm going to talk about that on Wednesday.
You know, T Swift could put out an album like that.
It's so cringy. It's so bad. It's so bad. Why would you do this? Like, they're just trying so hard to be like, look at this new singer we have, and it's like people don't like her, and they're like, look how awesome she is.
No, but bad as she is, I still hold her up above the Soundgarden debacle.
Oh, well, that was bad.
Oh,
I think that was a one-off.
No, and I think so too. But they just should not have done the one-off, because now it's out there, and people can always go back and go, remember that?
Nobody can replace Chris Cornell. That's
no, I think another one of that era of that style of music. We are never getting that back. The Rolling Stones are still out there doing stuff. Paul McCartney,
unpopular opinion,
17 years old.
I think the Rolling Stones suck.
I know you are a child. You are an infant in a man's body.
They're in their 80s, for God's sake.
They're ancient. No, they're old as F, but they're still out there. At least part of the band is still out there doing it. Paul McCartney still out there. I mean, but we had them for a very long time after they weren't, even the Stones
relevant,
great anymore. But we still had them for a long time. Paul McCartney, Elton John, all these artists were still performing. These were the parents, or the artists of our parents' generation, in like my youth. But we are not going to have, like I said, we aren't going to have that. I mean, it's 30 years down the road. We could have still had a great show with Nirvana, with STP, with Soundgarden. But and Alice in Chains, but we can't because they're dead. They didn't just die; they died of unfortunate circumstance. That was also a big part of that era, though, of that scene. Music. I mean, it's always been the unfortunate underbelly of the music industry. Anyway, it's always been a thing. But man, such a select group to just be.
I mean, I was reading years ago, and I read Slash's autobiography of the whole up and coming stories of Guns N' Roses. You wonder how those guys are still alive, but they're all still kicking somehow. Lady Marine says Anthony Vincent comes close to Cornell, very close. I might have to look that up because I don't know who that is, and I don't think anyone can replace Chris Cornell, but that will be worth looking into. Yes, when your parents were alive in the 1800s, Roman.
Funny. Everybody's got jokes.
Let's see. What else do we have here?
What'd you lose track of, son?
I didn't really lose track. It just we were kind of all over the place, and I've got some notes, and we're all talking, and we're going on about stuff. But when there's a lull in the conversation, I'm like, okay, how do we keep this going?
Trying to bring it back.
Trying to bring it back. It's easy to go down the rabbit holes.
Sure, my neighbors are smoking pot right now. You know how I know?
That's always fun.
It's coming through the garage.
Yay, California.
It was like a skunk died outside my garage.
That's also highly possible for where you live, though.
True, but
I have been to his house many times.
Though.
Yeah, you know the neighbors too.
Well, I don't have really much more.
Yeah, I don't know. The album was
trying to get more blood out of the stone.
Yeah, you know, an album was nominated for a Grammy Award for Best Recording Package in '95. Lost to Buddy Jackson for tribute to the music of Bob Wills and Texas Playboys. Has anyone heard of that?
I don't know any other words you just said.
So this EP was nominated for a Grammy and lost to something no one's heard of. And I feel like that's kind of a common thing. A lot of times, like people that win like Best New Artist of the Year are usually like one-hit wonders that disappear. Perform Asleep at the Wheel. I think I've seen them open for Willie Nelson. The single I Stay Away was nominated for Best Hard Rock Performance. November 2011, Jar of Flies was ranked number 4 on Guitar World magazine. It was featured on Guitar World's magazine Super Known 50 Iconic Albums that defined 1994. 2014, it was ranked number 12 on Rolling Stones. We don't care about Rolling Stone.
I mean, this is the same year. This album came out just a little bit before Kurt Cobain went out. It's kind of interesting as far as timelines go.
It was the same year, yeah. Kurt died in September.
April. It was early. It was
way early. You're right. You're right. I think the MTV Unplugged was September of '93, and then April of '94. Interesting, interesting fact that he and Lane Staley died on the same days in April, but years apart.
Yeah, like 8 years, like that. Yeah.
Really, really strange. That it was like literally the same day. Kurt was 94 and Lane, I think, was like 2001. That's just weird.
Yeah.
Two great talents gone too soon.
Did she also know Courtney Love? Or did Lane also know her?
Yeah, right.
Ooh. No, unfortunately, Lane Staley, I believe that his unfortunate passing is what it is. Kurt Cobain, I'm a little bit of a conspiracy theorist when it comes to that, but that's a different topic for a different time. We're not going to get into conspiracy theories tonight. I'll do that when we don't have other people on here that have to worry about their channels and their public image. But I do love a good conspiracy theory from time to time. Anyways, I think we've sort of hit all the main points. And I think between the chat and the panel, we've decided that Nutshell is the best song and that whatever Roman says is wrong about not liking certain songs. Pam, I'm glad you were able to finally join us after your technical difficulties.
I unplug all of my Nintendo stuff to get it working.
So we've learned a lesson that going between regular home stream and gaming stream requires a very, very different setup.
Need a little prep time.
Yes.
A little bit of prep time. Yeah.
Unfortunately, Jenga does not affect my streaming. Joke. I'm sorry.
Animal Crossing. Get it together, Boomer. No, I'm just glad it wasn't me that was having the technical difficulties, but I totally understand. But I think this is as good as any time to call it a night. And we'll go around. We'll go ahead and again start with Pam. I know you have just recently launched a new gaming channel. So she's got theme parks, she's got gaming, everyone that's here on the panel, all their stuff is in the description of this live stream. But we're going to go ahead and let everyone say what they have going on the rest of this week. So Pam, what do you have coming up on your channels the rest of this week?
Yeah, so I'm so excited about the gaming channel. I had so much fun. I had a test stream yesterday, and it was so much fun playing and getting to talk to chat. So I'm excited to do more gaming streams. So hopefully every Thursday at 8 o'clock, I'll be playing some kind of game, whether it's Animal Crossing now, but I want to get into. I was a big Spyro fan, so I played Spyro all the time. I love Pokemon, any type of Pokemon game. So we'll be playing tons of different games on there. And then on Wednesday and Saturdays, I have my theme park channel where I live stream at the theme parks here in Orlando. So Wednesday, I'm not sure where we'll be, but we'll be in a theme park. It won't be a home stream. So yeah, so thank you. Thank you again, John, for inviting me on. So
yeah, of course. Anytime. Yeah. Anytime we're talking music, anytime you want to come on, always welcome. Always good to have you. And yeah, like I said, just glad you worked through the technical difficulties. Yes. We're a little worried there for a minute. We're like, we swear she's coming back. She's gonna be back. Blair, what do you got going on this week, buddy?
Tomorrow I'm on Diabolical Souls, where the Gooch of the game we're gonna be talking about Primal Season 2, Episode 6, I believe. And then on Anime Thursday on Diabolical Souls channel, we're talking about Kaiju number 8, Episode 4. So join us there.
All right.
And I check out Pam's streams every once in a while. I see she's streaming. I'll pop on and say hi.
I know, Blair. I'm like, it's Blair. Oh my gosh. Hi. Chat.
Yeah, it's always a good time. And like now we're moving back into like it's like the slow season for the parks where usually stuff's under refurbishment. But I definitely like when it's like between Halloween and Christmas. Those are like the best times to check out the parks.
Snow in the parks?
So I was here. I was getting ready for my stream on Wednesday, and I swear, and my mom saw it, and we've heard from other people, they saw snow. There was snow. It was here in Orlando. I know, like up north, they got like tons of snow, but it did. It snowed. It did a little bit, but it did snow.
Wow. I see that in I think it's like Disneyland Paris. Like they get snow quite a bit and stuff, and I'm just like, man, like I don't even know. Like I've seen just how wild it is at Disneyland. Like if it starts raining and everyone runs into the stores, like I can't even imagine what would happen at a Disney park if it snowed, like actual like real snow coming down. That'd be wild.
Burning buildings to stay alive.
And last but not least, Bizarro Dad Roman. Heavy emphasis on the Bizarro. What do you got going on this week, buddy?
Again, thanks for having me. I very much enjoyed this conversation. This was a fun one. We wanted to do this one for a little bit, so thanks for having me here for this.
I know it's been a year in the making, and we missed it.
It's fine. It's fine.
Instead of 30 years, it's 31 years.
So this Thursday, we're on every Thursday at 5 Pacific Standard for those of you out there. This week we are doing a free reign show, talking about we've just got done doing the Riddick series of films, so we're doing a little loosey-goosey news show this week. That'll be fun. And then next week we're doing the awesome naked space vampire movie Life Force. So that'll be
that's a good one. What are you even talking about? Like
they know what I'm talking about.
Like this is why I don't come on your channel anymore. I have no idea what you're talking about.
That's what we do over there. We do weird stuff.
All right. Well, thank you everybody in the chat for tuning in, and for everybody on the panel here for being here. Salmon, he might be. We don't know. It's hard to tell. He's old, or we don't know. We don't know. But not tonight. Okay. But yeah, everyone in the chat, everyone on the panel, thank you guys all so much for hanging out. So this stream has been about a year in the making, and we finally got it done. We finally talked about Alice in Chains, and I think this year I might have to just kind of go through and every year just find a list of like what are some albums and things that are turning either 20 years old, 30 years old. We can all just sit here and feel old talking about albums that are many decades old. So I think it was last year was talking about something at one point, like Korn's debut album being 30 years old, and it's just like, why are we so old? Why is everything so old now? But that is our lot in life, because there's not much new stuff that's good coming out. So it is what it is, but we can get some live streams out of it. But we're going to call it a night. Thank you guys again so much. Enjoy the rest of your Monday and enjoy the rest of your week. I will see you on Wednesday for after work beers, and have a good night.
Bye, guys.
Be excellent to each other.
This has been Late to the Party News. Make sure to like and share this video for others to see. Subscribe to the channel and set notifications to all so you get notified every time we go live or post a new video. Thanks and good night.